Well, what's up, Soul Warriors? Sorry for the late start, but our amazing friend Amy Guerrero. Well, what's up, Soul Warriors? Sorry for the late start, but y'all have an echo. Our amazing friend Amy Guerrero. Well, what's up, Soul Warriors? Sorry for the late start, but what's happening?
I think there was an echo.
Was it an echo? Like it just went and kept going. Gotta love live TV, right?
Yeah.
Gotta love live. So y'all, look, here we are with Amy Guerrero. It's our finale, our episode 4 of the most amazing Healthy Sober Relationship series ever. It's our first, but it's still the best ever. And I thank you so much for coming in and just really bringing so much knowledge and just beauty and love and light and healing to the most amazing group of people on the whole internet right here at Recovery Soul Food. Thank you, Amy. It's been a blast. So,
thank you.
You know, since we're late, we don't have to do any snazzy intro. I want to get everything we can out of you in case because I know you're highly scheduled and all that good stuff. And I love it. I don't want to take too much. But to remember, guys, tonight we're going to do your questions. So whatever questions you may have for Amy about relationships, recovery, life, relevant personal questions, within certain realms. Let's just everybody keep it clean and everything here. You know what I mean? So, let's get your questions, whatever questions you want to ask. You have the most amazing mentor and coach right here with Amy to ask that to. If you want to ask me a question, that's fine. I will definitely answer whatever, but the experts here, I'd ask the expert. We do have a couple questions that we've gotten in through the week. So you guys hang out until the last 30 minutes of the show so that you can get those questions in and, bring your comments in. What have you enjoyed? What have you gotten the most out of this series? And if you haven't caught up on episodes 1 through 3, then guess what? They're on the Recovery Soul Food YouTube channel. So, catch up later. These messages are timeless. What we talk about just is timeless. It's never just for one moment in life. I find, Amy, that with relationship stuff and growth in general, it seems to come up over and over. You never learn this thing called forgiveness and then never have to use it again, or you never learn how to create healthy boundaries and only have to use it once and think I got that,
Oh, you don't?
No.
That's what a lot of people feel like they should do, right? And that's what gets us into this weirdo place of not enoughness, or why haven't I learned it by now, or all this bullshit thinking, because it's like we think it's a one and done deal. And I'm like, how old are you?
Yes.
Like, you've probably been doing this since you were like 3 or 4 years old. So how can you start being a little bit more compassionate and a little bit more patient with yourself so that maybe you can make it a way of life by going slower?
See, and I think that's part of what we get into, is wanting to go at everything so fast. It's almost like that we don't like to suffer. It's like that ripping the Band-Aid off quick. Well, if I learn all this now, maybe I won't have to go through this very long. And so I know that there was a lot of work for me in that area. I speak about it because I know about it. And talk to us about that compassion part, because I think that's a hard pill to swallow. And another thing is, I had to change my definition also of suffering, which is what really helped me in that. And so the work we did about compassion and what you're talking about, and mixed with me changing my definition of suffering from suffering for nothing to purpose in this pain or whatever I'm going through, was what helped me drive, move in a different way. So
okay, well, can we hold on? I have a question first before we go on that. I think it'll be really great for the audience to know this too. What was suffering to you, and then what did it transmute or transform into?
Well, honestly, the suffering to me had been my entire life. So I didn't know how to hold on to anything but pain. I was not able to let go. I kept asking the question, why did this happen to me? Why did I have to grow up like this? Why did I have to be born like this? If I would have made different decisions, my life would have turned out better. Why can't I just get over that? So every day for me was like an experiment in suffering, because I couldn't let go of that. There was no purpose for my pain. I didn't see it as, okay, so I went through this and I survived this, and if I heal this, then maybe I can help people in my family. It came through my son. If I keep going through this, then all I can see for him in the future is waking up and hating his life every day, being an angry man with, these same questions of, why did I have to have parents that were addicted? Why couldn't I have been? And that was when I was able to start moving that into, well, let's make this for something then. Because if it's not for something, it's just sitting there on me.
Okay, cool.
I hope that answered.
I do feel like there's a little bit of echo. Okay, so let's take this to, if you're watching or listening right now on YouTube or Facebook, I'd love to hear from you too in the comments, because this is such a good starting point of understanding that, first of all, you didn't know anything else, and your body was taking the path of least resistance by continuing to create experiences that confirmed that there was no other way to live.
Yes.
So it just, there was nothing, you weren't holding on to the idea of it. Your body was like, oh, this is the way we go, and this is the shit that happens to us, and if I choose this, that's what's going to happen. So it's kind of like that slideshow that we were talking about a couple weeks ago. It's like, unconsciously, the central nervous system's taking the path of least resistance, so it's going towards situations that you probably felt you already knew the outcome, and the outcome was going to be shit. However, it was familiar shit, and so you went towards the familiar shit. And like, is there anyone out there who hasn't gone towards the familiar shit? And like, so much forgiveness and so much compassion for that part of us that's just trying to keep us alive. So it's interesting, because you were surviving, and then you had this other human that was younger than you, it was your son, that you were like, it'd be really awesome if I could start living a different way, because he doesn't listen to me. He only watches what I do. So that maybe he doesn't wake up thinking that his life has to be like this, so limiting as well.
Yes. Yeah.
And our nervous systems have to stretch into that. And here's the thing, like, what happened to you in your childhood, in your young adulthood, every part of your life, it's never going to not have happened to you. It happened.
Yeah.
Period. The body will remember it forever. So it's one of the most interesting things about forgiveness and truly choosing that I'm going to transition this pattern of mine from going towards the shit that's so familiar and so yummy for some reason towards the unknown. And you had this idea of like, I want something different, but your body's like, it takes too much energy.
Yeah.
And so we have to really like be compassionate with ourselves, because since your body remembers all of your original traumas, all of your pain, everything that happened to you, it doesn't, after you heal it, and then you go to this next level where you've never been to this place before, bam, here it comes. I was just talking to a client about this today. She was like, I don't understand. I thought I was done with this. And I was like, well, you had a new level.
Yeah.
So it's back. And that's totally 100% natural. And so we get to that, I get to that place, you get to that place, maybe the listeners get to that place of like, fuck, I thought I already did this. I thought I already forgave them. I thought I already did my work around this. I thought that. And I'm like, well, hold on. You did. And there's something else there, because your body's never going to forget. So it feels unsafe to go in this new direction. And that thing is pulling you back going, hey, that's not safe. Don't go that way. And in relationships, people do this all the time, because we've all fucking had our hearts broken.
Yeah.
And we've all had relationships where we didn't act our best. And so I get really passionate about this, because it doesn't mean we have to do it like that again. We can choose differently. We can choose differently. And you can choose differently with the same person that you had a lot of history with, like you and Jesse have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so fucking powerful, because that love is there. And then you start to choose differently. And of course, you're both scared. And you keep going in that direction. And when the shit comes back up, that's very familiar. You both look at it and you're like, oh, let's not go that way. And let's get some support to go a different way.
Yes.
You know, but in the moment, we're hijacked way back here in our brain. And so we're just, no, I know this way. Let's just go this way. Da, 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 do, do.
Yes.
Sometimes a few hours goes by, sometimes a few days, sometimes a few months. But we can't beat ourselves up, because our body's naturally choosing to take the path that was well paved.
Well, I think this is very important, because that was one of the level increases for me was in that work, when you explained to me, when you said all of what you just said, when you said that to me in the beginning of our work, where you reframed it all to remind me that, number one, that I wasn't a flawed human being with no values, that I was coping and surviving. And that's why I think that it's very important to bring that information to the table, because that's not always the information that we're hearing in recovery. We're hearing stuff that is all just gooey and emotional, but we're not hearing necessarily that our entire internal nervous system is made up to do just what you were just talking about. It's made up to do that. So yes, we can get into gooey emotions, but at the same time, it gives a lot of power for us to understand what's actually happening within our bodies, within our brains. Now, I don't know if those are the aha moments for everybody, but those were real aha moments for me, because it gave me permission to stop beating on myself so hard.
Right.
To stop saying, oh, you're just a failure, you just can't do this. To really understand that, wait, it's not just about willpower. There's a whole bunch of other shit at work here. And maybe if I do this that helps this part, and some of this that helps this part, I can create a whole program that works for me.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that.
Absolutely. And it's really difficult. If we're looking, the neofrontal cortex wants to look for data to prove that something's right. So if we start proving that our behaviors are all that's possible, then it's going to keep wanting to do that, because it makes sense. However, when we have the data that oh, wow, like my breath, my sound, my movement, my nervous system feels safe this way. It's familiar. I have an attachment system. When I can combine my nervous system and my attachment system and start to regulate in a different way, it's like science of data. And what it does so quickly in an argument with your partner, in a heated discussion with your boss, in a fucking somebody, cutting you off on the highway, it creates this idea that like I can respond to this differently.
Yes.
And I'm not bad or wrong. Like I just took the path of least resistance for a moment and I'm back.
Yes.
And now I'm able to talk to you, and it takes the guilt and the shame out of it.
It
And
does.
so, talking about forgiveness, there's so much I can say around this for this question. It's like sometimes it's a process. Sometimes it's the body's ready to get rid of it and it's just gone. And it could get activated or triggered again and come back.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh fuck. Like I thought I totally trusted you, but a text message came from on your phone and I kind of need to see it just to like relax my nervous system because I'm feeling some kind of way. Would that be okay with you? Like we get to understand that yes, we forgave, and our nervous system's way smarter than our fucking brain will ever be. And so neuroception, right? 80% of our everything that we're just taking in life, we're feeling from our body, we're feeling from these afferent pathways, and only 20% of are coming from the efferent pathways of our brain. So when we get activated, it's like, oh fuck, I thought I was done. But instead, a lot of times people that I talk to on a regular basis are like, oh my God, I'm so fucked. I'm never going to change. The other day somebody messaged me like, I'm a terrible person. I know I was never going to change. I'm like, like one little thing happened at work. That's it. Right. But the brain and the body wants to like go towards that pathway. And it actually is in a dorsal response. And so what we want to do is give it more energy, tell on ourselves. So this person did a great job of just telling. And it was actually about a relationship. And I'm like, y'all are just having a little rupture in the moment. It's not forever. And like your pattern won for, 5 minutes. So here's how you can make it right and carry on. It doesn't mean you're stuck there forever. However, that's what the dorsal response feels like.
Yep.
I'm worthless.
Yep.
The world is fucked. And I am stuck here forever.
Yep. I'm never going to get out.
I often think of relationships that way. Like if I get back into a relationship, I'm stuck here for fucking ever. And I'm like, no, you reserve the right to change your mind at any damn time. Just do it from a regulated place, please. And if you don't, come back and clean it up. Fuck.
I love the come back and clean it up part because that's that's not always the easiest thing to do, that come back and clean it up. And, I always love what you share, and especially about that. I've made a very valid attempt to do that in my life, and especially in my relationship these days, as I have my wife back and we're kind of brand new, but yet with the same responses to certain things. I notice this all the time. I notice this all throughout the day. I notice this in little ways that we share affection with one another. Like you can see patterns, and you can see things from the past just in when we attempt to be affectionate, because we were non-affectionate for 7 years, completely unaffectionate. So we went from really unhealthy relationship, I mean, just really unhealthy, to nothing, and now to this brand new. So there's so many old patterns that we each have that are showing up, and yet we are in a space where we're learning to choose again. And that's my favorite part, I think, of healing, growth, and recovery, is that you're right. I reserve the right to choose again at any time. And I can clean this up either right away, or I can come back the next day after I've processed all of these lessons and really clean that up. And it's, you know, it really does something to, for me, to do that, to clean it up and come back and say, yep, you know what, I really responded out. This really hit me in a strange way that I didn't know was still there. And and this is that. And so it really does. I say so many times, and I say this to all the listeners, maybe sometimes in the moment you don't really feel like you're doing the work. You just don't feel it. And somebody, I remember Amy used to tell me, you're growing. And I'm like, you're full of shit. This is awful. This, just feels terrible. But I see it all, I see it all. And I'm so grateful for every bit of it. Even those 7 years. Those 7 years taught me so much about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that now I am a better husband, and I am a better, human being on earth for have gone through all of that. So, another one of the questions that I received through the week for you, Amy, is, and I think this is a good time to kind of transfer into that, is how does one thrive in a family or a work environment where maybe they're the only one trying to grow?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Okay, so first of all, like, if you're the only one trying to grow in a family, you're going to outgrow the family.
Mm.
And that's just a fact. And outgrowing people that you love is really difficult while you're growing, and it's a part of growing.
Mm.
And so I just want to presence it for that first, because we get this sometimes when we're growing, we want people to come with us and they're not ready.
Yep.
And so we start dragging them along, or we go down to their level to meet them there and stop growing.
Yep.
So if you know that you're in this growth path and you want it to continue, my first thing is just know that you're going to outgrow them, and you're going to feel grief, which comes with lots of emotions, and you're going to doubt yourself because they're not going to be on your team. So this is like why I created Sober Relationship School and Sober Business School, because our families and our closest friends aren't often on our team.
Yeah.
They're not ready to grow. So the second part of that question is find a support group that's growing with you. And spend 95% of your time talking with them. And don't talk to your family about what you're up to.
Yes.
Just don't, because they're going to make it wrong. It's going to scare the fuck out of them. Their nervous system's going to be like, this isn't safe, this isn't safe, this isn't safe. So you're wrong.
Yes.
And we often think like, oh, my parents are such a narcissist, or my partner's such a this. And I'm like, no, we don't have to label them. Their nervous system's not ready for it yet. And yours is.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That is it. And if you're truly on a growth path, please hear that. Your nervous system's ready. Theirs isn't. So find some people that are on that same path or on a similar path and go hang out with them. There's so many meetups. There's so many, like, Sober Relationship School is a great place to bounce into. You're so supported. And everyone's on the same journey of learning their nervous system, of learning their attachment system, of learning how to clearly, concisely communicate, of learning to be honest with themselves. Like, these are all signs of growth and development. However, if we go to our families expecting them to fully embrace it and they're not growing, the only reason that they aren't isn't because you're bad or wrong, isn't because they're bad or wrong. It's because they're not ready or equipped for it yet. And so to keep themselves safe, they make you wrong. And if we look at all relationships like that, I'm like, oh, right, like, you don't agree with me. I can totally see that. And so it's easier to make me wrong or bad than to be human with me and just be like, I don't agree, and it's making me really uncomfortable.
Yes.
right? Because there's a lot that I don't agree with in the recovery world. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I really totally fucking hear you. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with that. And so if I presence that, then it helps my nervous system calm down.
Mm.
And then I continue to have the conversation as just another human instead of trying to make them wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or argue with them. And
Yeah.
often in our family systems, we're trying to argue or make them wrong. So first thing is, don't expect them to get on board with you. Find a crew of people, a cohort of people that's going to support you. And then 3, like really get committed to your work. Do your best not to show off, not to show them, not to drag them with you or meet them down at their level. And eventually, with your consistent aligned action as someone who's choosing to grow, there you will be surprised and amazed
Yes,
at
you
how
will.
much the ripple effect of your healing has on your family, and they will come closer because they see you doing something consistently. And guess what? That's what every child wants. We
Yes.
all want that consistent behavior because then we feel safe. So when they feel safe to come towards you, they will,
Yep.
and you'll be like, oh, I love you, thank you.
Yes.
And until then, find a community and a cohort that will support you.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that is so good because that is exactly what happened. And, I think that, I experience that in society all the time, just living my life. I experience that same thing. And even learning how to see that, which happened in our work together, happened with my wife and I was trying to drag her and everybody else with me for this growth, and then I started doubting my own growth because nobody was about it. And it is just going through that, the time that I stopped trying to drag everybody and started trying to just understand and commit to my work, then lo and behold, here's my wife who just comes willingly through her own moments of growth and now has her own plan. And I remember just having a conversation with my mom just a couple days ago where we were talking about this property we're looking to buy, and I said, well, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just, I'm just going to go ahead and call it ours, and I'm going to tell this person to get it ready. Well, she said, well, no, don't do that because it's really not sure. And I said, you know what? I speak in faith. And
Mm.
after that whole silence, I said, I just speak in faith, and that's how I believe. And I believe that's what we're going to buy. And so that's how I'm going to speak about it. And in that moment, she just went kind of really dead silent and said, oh, okay, then I'm going to say that with you too. I'm going to speak that way with you too. And I said, okay, bravo. But until then, I'm not going to change how I'm speaking about this. This is what we're going to have. It's what we
Mm.
want. This is what we're going to have. And there wasn't that fighting in that moment where that anger came that says, you're wrong for not, why wouldn't you, say that with us? And that all comes from all of this. And now it goes out into society with me when I meet with someone who has something awful to say to me because they don't feel life the way I do. They don't experience my freedom. They don't know what it's like to be me and have to be free in my world and my body. And they say mean, awful, whatever things, or they make me wrong. And that's helped me learn how to just say, that's fear. That's a fear response because you don't understand. And versus, coming towards me and asking me the question or getting to know me as a person, which is why I do a lot of this, so that people remember that me and so many others like me, we're human. We're all just human on the inside. We're all fighting for our happiness. We're all looking for our healing. We're all just trying to move through this life that belongs to us, no one else, in the best way for ourselves. And this is how doing this type of inner work leads out into your entire life. And that's how I believe that, societies are changed, is by people doing that work within and letting it bleed out. So thank
Totally.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love hearing that. Yeah, and I want to add on to that too. It's that we do it fucking imperfectly. And we get angry sometimes and we get enraged and we get, we want justice and all of those
Yes.
things as well. It's just that with the people that we really love and we want to continue to have a conversation with and have in our lives, then often if we can just go like, wow, you're really activated and I'm not going to get into that activation with you. It's like the kindest, most compassionate thing you can do for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If your family's not growing or if your partner's not growing. And, you know, the statistics are high when partners aren't growing with together that it'll probably end up in parting ways.
Yes.
And that's okay if it's okay. You know, I mean, you get to choose if you're okay staying where you are, if you want to grow, and if the relationship is worth staying. You know, you can do all kinds of things. You can give it a time frame. You can tell your partner what you're feeling, that you're splitting apart, that you're losing emotional intimacy. And emotional intimacy and physical intimacy bring up all of your patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we notice that that's happening in our lives, in my life, then I'm like, uh-oh, you know, like I need to presence this. I need to talk about it. And I need to at least let the people in my life know, you know, when I'm shutting down and when I'm going dorsal, I'm avoidant to my friends. They're just like, hey, what's up? Because I have been on a path of like dealing with my own shit for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I hold a lot of space in the world. And when they call me on it, I'm like, oh, whoa, okay. Like, this is what's happening. This is what I'm feeling. It doesn't feel safe to talk about it. So, you know, let me write about it first. Let me do this first. You know, we gave a lot of tips last week on using a Google Doc and this and that. So that there's many different ways to do that. But I trust my friends are not calling me out to make me wrong or bad.
Yeah.
They're calling me closer because they love me.
Yes.
And even if it takes me a couple of conversations to really tell someone what's going on, it's okay. And that's why
Yeah.
we have mentors and coaches as well, because you can bring all of this to your mentor or your coach and you can just be like, hey, yo, and this is what we're designed for. I mean, that's why I have walkie-talkie service. It's like, it's so helpful to be able to dump it instead of keeping it in your brain, because that's
Sure
where
is.
ruminating thoughts, then the nervous system definitely starts looking for the path of least resistance when you're just spinning it around in your fucking head all
Mm.
day long. Oh, I got to think about it. I got to process it. I got to think about it. I got to process it. Okay. And taking consistent aligned action is how you heal it. So
Mm.
thinking and processing it is isolation.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm. Speak that truth.
Yeah.
God.
And it takes people a while if they've been avoidant their whole lives. You know, this is why, this is why I get so, you know, if we can teach this stuff in early
Yes.
sobriety, like the first 90 days, this could be
Yes.
transformative
Absolutely.
to even just the relapse rates.
Yes. I petitioned all of our local medication assisted treatment programs to do this, to teach kind of what we're talking about here, but in the way that I knew it at that time. I petitioned them to teach in their IOP this same, curriculum, so that people could understand early, that to move away from a lot of the shame and the guilt and if they understood some of this stuff. And of course it was turned down, but that's other reasons. But we're still fighting those. We're making that, we're going to make that process better.
Yeah.
So that's just, I don't know, I just think that I'm so grateful that you're here. I've been so grateful every episode, because there's so much involved in each one of these episodes. There's so much meat in every one of these episodes, and I hope that people will go back and watch them over and over again, because there are still things that is good to hear over and over and over, and especially when you begin to start walking in the path, then it's good to be reminded a lot of times, because I know my patterns will constantly try to shift over and shift over, and so I keep resources in my way all the time, to be a constant reminder to bring it back, and to let those things. And I still, of course, have your number, and always will reach out when I need to, because as you know, I definitely was an avoider, just avoid, avoid, avoid. And this lately, what I've been going through over this past year, say 8 months, I noticed that while I was in a different space figuring things out, I was not being avoidant, that I was making sure to move that stuff out, get it written about, use something, kind of creative, use it in a way that made me feel really good. Started playing music again, because that was a way that I could just release that, and it make me feel good, feels good to my body, and it lets it go. And so, it's all this information, when really taken in and put together, really leads you to a path of a life that, maybe at one time you just never thought you could have. I know I didn't.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole point.
Isn't it?
We're making something that's totally brand new.
It is. And it gets exciting. It stops getting so frustrating sometimes, and it actually gets exciting at a certain point. And, I think maybe we can get to a place where we get a little more excited about the unknown versus, always for that path. And it gets that way after some time, but it takes some work to get there. And
It doesn't. It takes a choice. It doesn't have to be work the whole time.
Yeah, you're right. You told me this before.
Yeah, I really want to remind people of that.
She doesn't like my work word.
Yeah, well, it's because work. No one wants to fucking work more.
Nobody does. You're right. It doesn't feel good.
Like, if you commit to staying curious,
yeah, what a better word.
Little kids are not going, oh my God, it's so much work to make this puzzle. It's so much work to play, Secret Flow. It's so much work to get on the swings. It's so much work to run around and play. No, they're not thinking that. So if we're just like, I don't know, let me play with that energy for a while.
So good.
See what happens, and then you play with it, and that brings this, again, the masculine, feminine energies. The feminine energy can be there, and it can be like, oh, la la, like I'm not sure, and this feels good, this doesn't feel good, I don't know what I want, I do know what I want, and like you can just be in the play of curiosity, because oh gosh, we take so much of this stuff so seriously, and some of it is very serious, absolutely. But even the most traumatic things that have happened to me, I can smile about it, because from those intense ruptures is what brought me to my intense passion, my intense, like like nothing's stopping me from like making this a way of life for as many people as possible, for myself, right? So those intense ruptures showed me how to feel intense, lots of things.
So good.
And safe to feel those. And through that rupture came this massive, like, oh God, I've got to do this. Like, I remember laying on the floor here in this little treehouse, sweating, with the flu, barely being able to, like, crawling around on my floor, barely being able to eat, totally heartbroken. And just with a 100% clear knowing that I was going to take all the money out of my accounts and start this business and take it from a one-on-one practice to an online business.
Wow.
And I was like, nothing's going to fucking get in my way. From, I wasn't hallucinating, although I had a fever. I just knew, all right, it's time to play bigger. And this is how you're going to do it. And you're going to invest a lot of money into coaches, and you're going to figure this out. And again, through that massive pain, because not only did I have a lung infection, I also had a broken heart, and I was just like, oh gosh, and just wailing in just despair, wailing. And I remember, like, I would sit in corners because I just needed something to be up against my back to felt like somebody got me. Mm-hmm. But I also knew that I needed to go through that and not hide from it. And through that massive rupture, like, sprung so much. Was it always a straight path? No, it's still not. However, I'll never forget like everyone telling me like go to the doctor, take medicine. I was like, I think I need to feel this. And that lung thing didn't heal until April of that year. So I had that for like 6 months. And again, it's like we try to push rupture down, we try to medicate rupture, and sometimes we just need to feel it.
Yes.
And wow, you know,
And the wow it brings
that's
up.
where that's when I started writing. I had poster boards all over the walls, and I was like, okay, week 1, week 2, week 3. My friend would start coming in. He was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm creating a program. It's happening." So it's beautiful.
Yeah, it truly is. Man, I'm so grateful that you shared that story. That's yeah, that's awesome. That's hopeful. I think hope is an inside job, and that's really, really hopeful. Just gives that spark of hope, which sometimes all it really takes is just that spark, just enough light that you can see that, there's, it's not all dark, and that, you can just keep going towards that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And that basically answers this other question: how do you grow in the midst of the struggle? And you basically really just answered that. Would you have anything else to add to that? I mean, you knew that you needed to go through that. Was that a knowing from your past experience, or was that just a knowing you felt within, like, this is just, I feel this, I know this?
Yeah, when we talk about healthy relationships, this really ties into it. I knew in my body, and I also knew from past experiences that I had skipped over the grieving process of all of my relationships with alcohol and drugs.
Yep.
And weird behaviors, just like weirdo behaviors. And I didn't actually really grieve the loss of the relationship, the loss of like who I could have been. We played that game, like I could have done this, could have done that. And I just needed to grieve all of that. And, the lungs surround the heart, and that I had a lung infection made so much sense, because it was like, no, we're not going to let you get away with this either. So the anatomy of the spirit was telling me that too. Thank you, Carolyn, Miss, because I was like, all right, like this, it's time to melt down. I didn't I didn't leave the house like for a month, because I just knew that if I bypassed this time, that I was going to miss out on some beautiful golden opportunities. Now, listen, y'all, if you're not ready for that, it's okay. I knew that I was ready to birth a bigger version of what I was doing one-on-one with people. And I knew that I wanted the whole world to know about it. So I was ready to go through that canal. There was several other times when I wasn't, and I would drink, drug, or weirdly behave to avoid it. Did I have the calling at those times?
Yes.
Absolutely, for different things, but I avoided it. So, it's the hero's journey. I call it the sober, the sober journey, the conscious sober journey. And I presence that in sober relationship school. Like, wherever you are, it's okay. When that calling comes to you, are you going to let it? I literally let the rupture enrapture me, and it led me to amazing things. So the one thing I would add to it is, it's okay if you're not ready and you want to bypass it somehow. Will it come back? Probably.
More than likely.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know you or your life if you're listening out there. However, my history proves to me that it came back and came back and came back. I mean, I've been, on a spiritual / trauma journey for a long time. And I tried everything to make it that it wasn't my calling. I was like, fuck this is too hard. I remember doing like rituals up on the roof in San Francisco, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm just gonna go buy a bottle of vodka, fuck this. It was like, yeah, I mean, me and my ways have been around for a long time.
Oh gosh, I love that. Thanks for sharing that, because there are some crazy things. They're just as those same uncomfortable things, when you say it's not, you could feel that calling and want to escape from that because it doesn't feel safe, because there's a part of you that says, I want to live big, and then here it comes and you're just like, wait a minute, come on, that can't be it, that's not it, I'll know when it's it, that's not it. And then yeah, it just keeps coming back. I mean, it just always reminds me of my wife having what was basically a heart attack. It's the same thing. It's,
Mhm.
you use this thing that awakens you. And I remember being so almost jealous or envious of her for getting it like that.
Mm.
Because I didn't get it like that. I would go through and keep going through and keep going through, and then I can't deny it anymore, my back's against the wall. She has always been that Leo mind where it says, I set my mind and here I go, and boom, and I'm just like, oh, love that, but wish I had some more of that. But then here she broke open from that. I mean, I think within 2 weeks from having that heart attack, she immediately kind of began her own work and journey towards, because it just made her so uncomfortable that she said, I gotta do something with this. And
Yeah.
I would have let myself, I just suffer. So, I'm so grateful
Well,
for you
until
sharing
now.
that. Until now, for sure. I choose different. I choose different.
Yeah, and just for the listeners out there too, anything that's happening in and around your heart space is like emotional complex trauma showing up in, I mean, again, I'm not a doctor. However, like listen to that, because the body keeps the score. It's talking to you,
Mhm.
and heartbreak is real.
Yep.
Panic attacks from heartbreak, heart attacks from heartbreak,
Yep.
like all that's real, and doctors see it all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Loneliness.
Yes. And that's a huge thing happening right now.
Oh yeah.
It's sometimes I can forget, that when I don't reach out to other people, and I can forget that that's really real and that people are really feeling that. And my heart goes out to people that are feeling that way right now, because I know that it feels so desperate.
Mm.
And so, Amy, to switch gears just a little bit, I have another question here. What is like, number one, I guess I'll add to this question. You believe in getting up in the morning and hitting your day, like that's the start of your day, right? So, how important is your morning routine to the production of your day? Because the question is, what is your morning routine? So
Mm.
what do you believe about a morning routine? Is it vital to your day, or what is it to you?
Well, first of all, I want to say that we all have different circadian rhythms.
Mhm.
And so if you don't, or if you're not a morning person, your morning routine can start at 3 p.m. or
Right.
at 7 p.m. or at 9 p.m. if you're like a nurse or someone who works the night shift. So, first of all, like morning, I would just say the wake up routine.
There you go. It's a great way to say
Instead,
that.
yeah, because I am a morning person. I'm one of like the rare people of like, I think they call them dolphins. Like I love the fucking morning.
Me
I love
too.
the quietness. I love the
Mm.
lit, like it's still dark outside, and
Yes,
oh,
my
it's just such a
favorite.
yeah. I love it.
Love it.
Yeah. And so my morning routine is I like to wake up a little bit earlier because I like to enjoy that time, and it's very
Hmm.
sexy and very just like just delicious to me.
Yeah.
When I have a partner, I want to have sex in the morning. Like it's just a really good time for me to express that way in myself
Mm.
and to just get in tune with like my pleasure and how I want my day to go. And so that's just how I've been built most of my life. But I didn't sleep well for most of my life. So that's
Gotcha.
another beautiful part of conscious sobriety is that like I sleep so good and it's so awesome.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
so grateful for that. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, no medicine,
Yes.
some herbs, and it feels so good.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. So thing one is if you don't like the mornings, it's okay. Call it a wake up routine and do shit that makes you feel awesome. You know, I don't believe in this like patriarchal, like it has to be like this, the masculine, like, oh, do your routine exactly like this every day. However,
Mhm.
like I love the same things for breakfast for like 3 or 4 months in a row. Or
Yes.
I love to do the same workout routine for like 3 weeks. And then I'm like, oh, I'm fucking over it. Or I do a lot of like yoni egg or sensual practices in the morning. And one day I'll just be like, I don't want to do that today. And I just listen to that. However, I still like have that time for me
Hmm.
to soothe
Yes.
myself and to do my thing. And then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to serve people. I mean, usually I'm on calls for like sometimes 8 to 10 hours a day. So it's like, that's a lot. So that time is very sacred to me. So I don't believe that like I can give you my routine, but it changes so often. It's just like to
I
get that time for yourself. And whenever you wake up, it's okay. Now, if you're not waking up because you're avoiding something and you don't want to get out of bed and you're feeling like very dorsal and maybe a little bit depressed, then, come closer.
Yeah.
That's different.
Very different. Very different.
Yeah. What about
Yeah.
you?
That's basically the same routine. I like getting up early. I like to have that time for myself. I just like to look at the stars. I like to get up while the stars are still out. I really look at, how big, just how big and massive, and how divine the sky looks, and I love that time. I really thrive in that time, and I'm in the same way. There's certain things that I do every morning, very little things that give me little comforts, but so much changes. And I do, eat the same thing for this amount of time. And I'm like, okay, I'm done with that. So it's really that. But I love that morning time so much that there's rarely ever, I don't ever alter from it that much. I mean, even come the weekends, if I don't have to get up at
Oh, yeah.
4:30,
Weekends. Yeah.
generally I'm still going to get up because I just love that time. I feel like that's my reward for the day. That time is my reward. You know, I love it.
I love
I
it.
love it.
Sometimes I'm going to bed and I'm like putting my weighted blanket and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to wake up. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I just remember not feeling like that and like being like so drunk that I barely make it to my
Oh
bed.
my God.
And and then waking
You're
up at
so
3 o'clock
right.
in the morning all parched and weird and like, what the fuck happened? How did I get home? Da, 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 da. So
I
yeah,
know.
it's definitely super delicious.
So different. So different.
And
I,
so let's relate it to relationships because I dated someone who was a night person who was very much a wolf. So our
mm,
schedules were completely opposite. And I would try to keep up with both of our schedules, like wake up at my time, do my thing, try to take a nap in the afternoon so I could stay up until like 3 or 4, and then wake up
mhm.
at 6. And it was so hard. It was so hard. And so, tuning into each other's schedules and when you're looking for compatibility, or if you just have different schedules and it's like, I love him and I'm going to make it, I love this person and
Mm,
I want to make it work, then just being really honest with each other that the time that you
so
spend together
good.
is super sacred because
That's
you
so
just have different clocks. So,
good.
I mean, all of that stuff is so important in relationships, and it's important to presence and to talk about it because that's what
It
you'll fight.
is.
You'll fight about that shit, not
Oh gosh, yes.
the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right too, because my wife likes I think she gets her time at night. That's when she kind of gets her time, and I like to be in bed because I'm just so excited to wake up in the morning. I like to go to bed at a certain time. I
Yeah.
love it. And but she gets her time at night, and so we had to have that same conversation just last weekend, and she's like, "Are you going to stay up and watch the show with me?" And I'm like, I just can't this weekend. And, we had we were getting a little bit spatted about it. And then, we chose again and just kind of said, hey, look, this is what I need. I get up this early, one, and so it was just a really great moment, and we respect that time for each other. But there was a time in our relationship when we wouldn't have, and I would have been like you. I would have been trying to keep up with that, or she was trying to keep up with me, and we were just trying to make each other happy, and at the same time kind of being resentful about it the whole time, staying up and being really pissed off that I'm staying up, like, this is all your fault. I'm
Oh,
doing this for you, Yeah, it's
Crazy
crazy.
love her when all we have to do is talk about it.
That's it.
Plans to hang out and to stay up late or wake up early or whatever the thing is. Yeah.
That's it.
And I mean, yeah, we make things so hard.
We do. We do.
So interesting.
I know we are. We just make it all so difficult. So Kristen Montag says, "LC, what does your shirt say?" My
Oh,
shirt says, "Am I next? Bringing light to trans violence."
I love it.
Yes. One of the greatest opportunities I've gotten this month has been to study a lot of violence in the transgender community, and especially of trans women of color. We lose them at just remarkable rates, and I think we're in the midst of a shift in society. I think it's important what we're talking about here. I think that it's important for when we do this in our own families, in our own lives, then again, it kind of bleeds out into society, and we become less violent against each other. We become less dehumanizing towards one another. When we deal with our own shit, we, can then be more present in the world. And Kristen, I actually made this shirt. So if you want one, DM me and I'll work on getting you one. And I just made it after doing so much research in that, and it just, breaks my heart. But it came from a rupture. It came from some hate language that I received online, and it was just that person's insecurity and fear was screaming out so loudly. It was in that moment that I can see that this isn't really about me. This has nothing to do with me. It just, and so I started studying that. And I think that we have to make a little more noise about that because, we're all just human beings. And I think we're at a pivotal time in history where we need to come together. We just all need to come together. And I think what you said, healthy, sober relationships will change the world.
Yeah.
And it's very, very true.
Conscious.
Healthy, conscious.
It's important choosing. We all choose a different form of sobriety.
Yes, we do.
Right? I mean, we can be sober from our limiting beliefs.
Amen to that.
And still drink wine and smoke pot. That's okay.
Yeah.
Like, we're all sobering up in the world, and especially to things like this that have been fucking misunderstood.
Yep.
For so long, that they've caused so much fear that has been conditioned generationally.
Yep.
And we get to choose differently, and you get to let your light shine and bring it up and talk about it.
Yes, absolutely.
And imperfectly, right? Like, I never do this perfectly. I work in many different communities, and one of the first things that I say is, like, I am not going to do it perfectly. I don't know what you've been through. I don't. And I'm not going to do it perfect. And I'm going to listen and support. And I'm not going to do it perfect.
No. Never are we. And if we shy away from those moments when we're afraid not to be perfect in a situation, we're going to miss out on some fabulous, fabulous connections.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
have to stretch ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And we learn from those ruptures too. I'm like, like, I genuinely didn't mean to create harm. Please, and then it's a tricky time, and I don't shy away from it.
Yeah.
I know that I'm privileged. I know that, like, my gender has been my gender my whole life. I know that although my skin is lighter, I'm Mexican. I don't know what it's like to be treated differently because I've got darker skin. Like, I know these things. I know that, and I'm still gonna fuck it up. And I have so much compassion for all of it. Yeah. So, I mean, talking about healthy, conscious relationships will change the world. It's just like that same thing that I said earlier. How can we stay curious?
Yes.
How can we bring the curiosity in and it is uncomfortable. You might shake a little bit. You might say the wrong thing. You might have to ask for support from someone else to help you. And that's okay. But when we're willing to do that, then it creates that conscious connection.
Yes.
Right. And then
Yes.
you can be like, oh, we just two humans having a conversation here. That's it.
One of my greatest passions in the world is to work with families that have trans children in a way that where we can help a family be more open with one another and be able to ask questions that maybe they wouldn't be comfortable asking, their person in their family. Ask those questions, have those hard conversations, teach each other how to just be understanding of one another, because people, there's something bigger about me that people can see and they can not understand, but we all have different things that another human's not going to understand. I'm never going to understand what ice cream tastes like for my wife. I'm just never going to understand it. She's always going to have different experiences than me. And that's all of us as humans. And I think that's what makes us so interesting. That's why the heck we were made like this. And we're missing so much by just trying to stay with the herd. Let's embrace.
I'm not ready for it.
Yes, and that's so true.
That's why it's like creating more safety in the world.
That's what it is. That's what it is. And I think we gotta, I really try to think about not only what I'm doing for the people that are here now, but for my son and his children, if he chooses to have them, and children after that. And who knows what we do right now, because what people did in the 60s and the 40s, we are benefiting in a lot of ways for now, and we still have more to go, and we will. I believe we will, because we do things like this, and we have conversations like this. And I just want to thank everybody for coming here and sharing in this with myself and Amy. And Amy, thank you so much for coming in and doing this. I mean, there's been so much information here. Remember, everybody, the videos are up and will remain up on the Recovery Soul Food YouTube channel. So if you're not already a part of that, then head over there and check those out. The audio broadcast, we're going to take a break next week. We're not going to have a live broadcast next week, because I'm going to use that day to get all of the audio uploaded, and it'll be available on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms. So that way you'll be able to, just hit the audio, listen to it while you're working. That's a great way to do. I listen to podcasts all day. But Amy, I made something special just for you, because I just wanted to show my appreciation for you being here with us. So I'm going to let it play us out.
I want to tell you something before.
Tell me.
So first of all, I love being here.
Thank you.
And the most rewarding part about being here is truly witnessing how far you've come. And that you have had a nervous system transformation, and that you're a different man than the man I'm, and that your relationship is different, that where you live is different, that the work that you're doing is different, that you're showing up in the world differently. And no one can ever take that away from you. And that is like the biggest reward you can, like, for me, when people are like, what are you doing this for? Like this.
Oh man.
Yeah. That's amazing. All of the feels all over my body, like full goosebumps. It's fucking delightful to have spent the last 4 weeks with you, witnessing you.
Man, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. That means everything to me. It really, really does, because there were times in there that it was so tough, and I just wasn't sure if I was going to be able to hold on. And some days I wasn't even sure what it was going to look like, or if I was ever going to achieve any of it. And while I know I still got so much to do, I'm so grateful for where I am and what we did. And I get to see and show up even in the mirror as a different man every single solitary day. I just feel more grounded, more of who I am, and that's important to me. And I could have never imagined that in those times when we were going through all those things, and the times that I just wanted to throw my hands up and give up and go back to the way of least resistance, that you were there and you kept encouraging me and you kept reminding me of what was happening inside of me, that I wasn't losing. It wasn't just a willpower thing, and that there was a safe space. That changed my life and has allowed me to open myself to up to be a safer space for my own self, my family, my community, and I am forever grateful. And thank you. I mean, really, there's not enough thank yous I could say. But tell people now where they can sign up for Sober Relationship School, what your schedule is. I mean, everywhere they can get in touch with you, because
Yep. It's
I
real
want
simple. At Thrive in Recovery with Amy everywhere. Facebook,
every-
Instagram, my website. And there's links to everything to sign up for school. We actually have orientation tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific. That today's February 20th, so it's on the 21st. And it's not too late to sign up because it's just orientation. So I'll be accepting applications and people until Wednesday. And then I'll look at the cohort that we have and start making the schedule. And we meet every Sunday at 1 for about 9 to 10 weeks. So I just make it very simple and easily to digest and consistent, because that feels good and safe to the nervous system.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That is so, so awesome. So, guys, get in touch with Amy at Thrive and Recovery with Amy. It's in the description of this video. And make sure that you reach out to Amy. And I tell you, I can testify about it for 3 days straight and never take a breath, but it'll be the best thing that you've ever done for yourself. I can guarantee you that, because you're worth that. You're worth knowing who you are. You're worth feeling safe in the world, and you're actually worth moving through the world as you are, who you are, and to be safe, and to feel that healing, and to just know what it's like to stand on your own legs and have them know that they're going to hold you up. It's just really, really amazing. And so I appreciate you again, Amy, and I appreciate all of you all. If you like these videos and like this content, then please make sure to give it a like. Write down what you got the most out of in your comments. It really makes a difference. It really makes a difference to my heart, because I always want to bring you relevant content, things that you can take home as soon as this video's over, and put into practice in your life, and really start to see some changes being made, and just to live your best life. And that's what I try to do here. But join me, not this coming up Saturday, we're taking a break, but the following Saturday, I got an amazing little treat for everybody. We're going to have Maddie J. Blonsky on from The Point of Change. Everybody knows Maddie J. He's my brother, a different mother, and he's going to come on and rock his special brand of motivation with us. So you guys, thank Amy Guerrero, Thrive in Recovery with Amy. Get in touch with her, get to know her. She's an amazing human being. I'm sure all of you already know that. And Amy, I made this very special for you. I'll see everybody Wednesday morning. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll talk to everybody soon. Amy, I love you. See you soon.